Hi! On this channel we talk about independent spirituality and folk magic for free spirits. My name is Aster, and in today's video we are going to have a full witchy room tour. But not only, I'm bringing this content also with the intention of bringing a discussion on the importance of objects for a witchcraft practice. Do we really need a lot of stuff and a Pinterest decor to actually have our magic going? This is going to be the discussion for today. The first thing that I'm gonna say right off the bat is that I get to have this nice room. I think it's very nice. In my opinion, it's very nice, okay? So I get to have this room today, but it hasn't always been like that. The apartment where I'm currently living happens to have 2 bedrooms, and the second bedroom, like, there wasn't anything going on in it, and I would rather have a witchy room than a guest room. Judge me, I don't like people at my house. So I chose every item to be in this room. Also, you guys are going to see there's a lot of jars that I have accumulated over months. Jars from edible products. Now I get to have this nice room. I really like it because it is nice, it is fun. It really helps get us in a certain mood, you know? When I go past that door and I come in here, it's like I am in an alternate universe where magic can actually happen. You know, it's just whimsical and magical because of how it looks, but we must never forget that the real magic is within us. And when I was a teen and I was like in my early adulthood, I never had a witchy room. The place where I come from, all it takes to work some magic is a glass of water and a candle, okay? All this stuff is cool, it is nice, it is fun, it does bring joy, but it is not necessary. And I am going to show my stuff, but I don't want this video to pass the message that being a witch, you gotta look a certain way and you need to have an entire room of your house dedicated to that thing. That's so not the reality of most people out there. And that's not what makes you a witch. That's not what validates your magic. What does that is the results that you get. Period. Don't you underestimate a glass of water and a white candle, okay? You can move freaking mountains with those 2 little things that, yeah, they're not Instagrammable, but they're freaking powerful. You know what? Because the power comes from you. Until not long ago, I didn't have any of this, and I wasn't any less magical because of that. So I just wanted to get this message out first and foremost, because it's not about the things you have. It's not about having all the herbs of the book and having 50 crystals the size of your arm. It's not about that. And with that being said, I'm gonna stand up and we're gonna dive right in. So let's go. I don't even know what I'm gonna show you first. I don't know where to start. I think I'm gonna start with the bookshelf, because as a matter of fact, my bookshelf was where it all started. Before I had this room to call my witchy room / office, all my magical gear was stored in this bookshelf. It has 9 squares, like I think you can see, and I'm gonna walk you through each one of those. On top of the shelves, I have my altars. I'm not gonna go through that in today's video because I think they deserve a video of their own. I don't have that many books, physical copies, I mean. I think I have around 60 or 70 books. Considering some witchy room tours I have seen on YouTube, that's not that many books at all, but for me it's more than enough. It's a lot of knowledge here, more than I can absorb as it is, but anyway, let's get into it. You can see very clearly the books that are in here, so I'm gonna count them, and like this, at the end of this section of this video, we are going to know how many physical books I have. 15 books in here. I have these little cones that I have collected at my local forest some time ago. I had a bike ride over there. It was super nice, and these are from sequoias. They were huge, enormous trees. It was a very nice day. Here I have a deck of cards, you know, just a regular cheap deck of cards that I turned into a Lenormand. And I have these little bottles with crystals. I got this as a gift a long time ago. I'm not sure which crystals they are. If you think you know, drop it in the comments, please. And here I have one of my favorite objects ever. I think that for anybody who lives in the Northern Hemisphere, this is not a big deal because you guys have deer. It's like regular animals that you guys are used to this, but the place where I come from, there is no deer. And I had a very nice experience in finding this little shed. As you can see, it is a natural shed. It hasn't been cut, I think. I think it doesn't look like it. It looks natural to me, like it has just dropped. One day at the woods, I approached a tree and I asked it if it could help me finding an antler shed. Suddenly, I knew where to go and I walked for 2 minutes and there it was on the ground. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a very magical experience, and this is a very good memory for me every time I look at it. And I like to hold it when I meditate, and in my meditations I visualize it as a key that I use to open certain doors. Now going to the second niche of the bookshelf. Let's see how many books we have in here. We have 21 books here. You can clearly see which books are in here, I think. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about each book. This is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, in case you can't read the spine because of the reflection. There was a time where I became very interested in learning about Egyptian magic, but at the same time, that felt kind of appropriative to me. I don't know, so I kind of stopped and I decided to focus on my own culture. Here there is my ancestor oil, which is an oil that I've made myself. I really need to get this recipe out there. I think it could help other people. I use it mostly to dress candles offered to the souls of my ancestors. But the purpose of this oil is to infuse care, love, and peace into the candles, so hopefully it can reach them. This little jar was just a regular seasoning jar that I've kept after using everything that was inside. As I was editing, I realized that I completely forgot to mention this bell. I really like this bell. I got it in a trip to Spain at this tiny little shop. I think it was called Little Tibet, and they had all these amazing looking things inside. I use it in my practice as just a regular bell for cleansings with sound. Moving on to the next niche of the bookshelf. Here we have 12 books, and this part of the bookshelf is dedicated to Brazilian magic, Brazilian heritage, Brazilian spirituality, religion, etc. There are some very interesting things in here. Not everything is in English, but most of it is. Over here, there is this little box with bookmarks and a ton of feathers that I have collected from my hikings and bike rides through the woods and the forests of my region. And here's another little crystal bottle that I got. It was a bundle that came together. Like, here's another one, I forgot to mention it. I think it's amethyst because it's purple. I have this tiny hourglass for no particular reason. I just think it's very cute. I have no idea what this is called, but I use this to... I was looking for the word extinguish. I use this thing to extinguish my candles instead of blowing them out. I got it off of Amazon and I'm gonna link it down in the description in case anybody wants it. It's super useful. You don't burn your fingers and you don't blow your candle, so highly recommended. Now, this little item here can really give us a little bit of a discussion theme. It is a tiny sword that is actually meant for being a letter opener. It is so cool, right? It is a tiny sword. So I got this with the intention of using it to direct energy. But at the end of the day, I don't use it. It just sits here, not being used, not to open letters, and not to direct energy either. Nowadays, I simply use my fingers. So actually, this is something that will happen very often. You will end up buying stuff that months or years down the line, you will realize that purchase was kind of useless. So thankfully, this was not expensive. Over here on the fourth niche of the bookshelf, as you guys can see, there are no books. There are only the boxes of my tarot and oracle cards. Also, some other bottles from the tiny crystal set. And here there is this beautiful glass box where I store some crystals. I only have crystals like this. They are scattered all over the house. I don't have that many, but they are all tiny like this. They fit in the palm of my hand. I don't have any huge crystals because they are super expensive. I think the biggest crystal that I have is this selenite wand. I'm not gonna go too much into details about my decks because this totally deserves its own video another time. Moving on to the fifth niche of the bookshelf, we have a few more books in here. And I believe, yeah, they are the last books on magic or anything like that of the entire bookshelf. There are 10 books in here. I remember that I have mentioned these two books on my video of 7 books for beginners. Now, returning to the top of the shelf real quick, I just wanted to mention something because I forgot, but there's a book review of the Book of Science. It was the first book review of the channel. There's also a review about spirit work. I have talked a lot about financial sorcery on my money bowl video, and also moon spells. Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to other videos of the channel that you might find interesting. But continuing downwards, on niche number 6, this is my divination station where I get some tarot, oracle, and Lenormand cards out just to, you know, give me some ideas, give me some advice. Like, for example, here, this card is wisely telling me to be patient. This is something that I totally struggle with. I am not a patient person at all. I have no idea if I am in the frame right now, and I do apologize. Over here, I have all my decks in little pouches. The only one that is not in a pouch, I don't know why, but is this one, the OK Tarot. It was my first tarot deck ever. I have mentioned it in a video. I think it was the video called Where I'm Coming From and Where I'm Going. where I try to present myself. In here, I'm not gonna really show a lot, but of course, I never lose an opportunity of showing my embroidered pouches, because these are handmade and I'm so very proud of them. I think they look absolutely precious. I'm so in love with them. It's a joy for me to pick them up and get my cards out of them. Actually, this was the first one that I've made, and I can totally tell the difference of the embroidery in itself, how it looks now, and how it looked months ago when I first picked up embroidery. I have remade this exact pattern, by the way. I just don't know where that little bag is. So yeah, I think you can tell the difference, can't you? Practice does make perfect, you guys. Over here, I have some random objects. My favorite object is this tiny little lamp. I got it in Spain some months ago. I also have this matchbox. I think it looks so nice. I bought it somewhere when I was in the Netherlands and I just can't get over it. I still have it with like fresh matches. I can't get myself to using it all up. I think it's a very beautiful matchbox. There's a box of the Lord of the Rings in French. There's a dictionary. There's this tiny thermos, which I take to the cemetery with me. There's this beautiful feather. I think it is my favorite feather of all the feathers that I have. And there's also a pipe, because, you know, we never know when we might need a pipe. So that's why I have one. On niche number 9, there are just random fiction books. As you guys can see, fiction is not a majority here in this house. And there are also some things about learning French and an atlas of Paris. And there's also the history of Paris all over here. Here, there is my scrying mirror. I keep it over there. And as a matter of fact, I lied to you. Or maybe I'm just very bad at math. Because actually the bookshelf has 12 niches. There are 3 more at the very bottom, and I'm gonna show them to you. There are 2 drawers. Over here, there are some ingredients like candles. Yeah, there are all types of things in there. I'm not gonna open it up. Here, there are some embroidery materials of mine, and I keep some loops. And there's also blank paper and the melt away fabric. Yeah, I keep some materials in here. And over here, it's super mundane. It's just documents, you know, so yeah. In my witchy room, there are also 2 of my plants. They really like it in here. I think it has the perfect lighting for them and the perfect like overall conditions. They really thrive in here, so I'm not gonna move them anywhere else in the house. And they are Valkyria, my dumbscane plant. I have mentioned a little bit about the magical properties of dumbscane in Brazilian folk magic in another video. It's going to be linked. Everything that I am mentioning about other videos, it's going to be linked in the cards and in the description down below in case you want to check it out. And there's also Cassia, which I don't know what her popular name is or like the common name of Cassia. I just call her Cassia. There's actually a leaf coming out right now. I'm not sure if I will be able to catch it on camera, but right here, there you go. There is one more leaf coming out. Valkyria is also always growing and growing super fast and super beautiful. And there's also a new leaf coming out in here. I'm not sure if you will be able to see it. It's this little spike over here. Do you see it? Yeah, this is my little baby growing up. Ooh. Ah, you're so beautiful. So beautiful. You are beautiful too. So green. I really like plants. I keep them usually right over there by the window so they can get all the light that they possibly can. Over there, it's right next to the bookshelf. The bookshelf is here. So here there's a very cozy corner for reading. In here there are some books from my local library, some markers and post-it notes, incense, and the armchair. That armchair is super comfortable. On top of it, there are some books that I am using for writing an ebook. Yes, that's right. I am currently writing an ebook. It is going to be called Herbs of Power because after I've made that video, 7 plants you didn't know were magical, some people were kind of curious about knowing more different uses of plants and herbs, and I thought it would be a good idea to put together a material where I go a little bit more in depth about that theme, and these books over here are going to help me with that. 5 more books and there you have it. I think that's pretty much all of my physical books. There is one in my bedroom and one in the living room, and this one over here is also mine. These other 4 are from the library. So yeah, now we can put all of that together and have a final number of how many physical books I have. But yeah, I am writing this ebook about herbal Brazilian magic, which by the way is not a closed practice, okay, so don't worry. And as soon as it comes out, there is going to be a link for it in the description or in a pinned comment down below. So stay tuned for that. No, there are 2 more books in here. I just saw them on top of my desk. Yeah, 2 more books. Now over here at the corner, right across the armchair, there is a part of my witchy room that I think is very nice, which is this like shelf thing that is kind of like an apothecary kind of thing, and I'm gonna walk you through it. It is a very beautiful piece of furniture that I got at IKEA, and as a matter of fact, it was originally planned for the bathroom area. But when I saw it there, I immediately knew it had to be something else. All the way to the top here is where I keep basically essential oils. I have also some wheat that I found in a bike ride. I think that's called wheat, right? I found these little guys right next to a field where there was a bunch of it, and I picked it up from the road. And I have a bunch of rose petals. They are stored in these olive jars. And I have that many rose petals because I have a rose plant on my balcony, so I have roses all the time. As you can see, I hang them to dry and then I collect the petals. This over here is just a stick that I found near my house. There was this tree that fell down and I picked a bunch of sticks from it. Coming down to the next stage, over here I have some oils that I have crafted myself. I have some herbs, I have like garlic peels, I have some dried white flowers, bay leaves, I have some dried orange, and I have some black nightshade berries. It is interesting because in my rose plant in the pot, These little tiny plants sprouted and I just let it grow to see what it was, and it turned out to be a black nightshade. And now I have a bunch. There's my carving tool. I use it to draw or write on candles, and my rosemary essential oil, which I use for meditation a lot. Going down a little bit more, over here we can see again rose petals, and there's black salt, there are rose thorns, rose leaves, there's some bark here. There's this little spoon that I use to handle some ingredients. There's fennel seeds, there's dried apple, and also over here you can see this is dried thistle, and back here I have some dried wild carrot flowers. Going down a little bit more, we come to this little space here where I have some dried rosemary. I stumbled upon this huge rosemary bush at a friend's house, and she told me I could just pick up some branches because there was a lot of it and she wasn't going to use it all up by herself. And here there's star anise, there's lavender, there's more rose leaves, there's lemongrass and pine needles. These are some interesting shadings. I have mentioned this in my video where I talk about the use of animal parts in witchcraft. In my opinion, it represents protection and growth and abundance and prosperity, because they are shadings that come from new leaves from Ficus elastica, which is one of the plants that I own. Of course, pestle and mortar. Going down a notch, there are some very important things in here. Again, an olive jar. I have some mugwort in here. It is something very important for my meditation practice. It does help to open the third eye, let's say. I have a bunch of it. I've ordered some off of Amazon. I can link it down below. And I prefer to make teas out of it, even though I know it tastes horrible. It tastes so bitter. You just have to chug it down immediately. But yeah, I prefer to drink it as a tea rather than burning it. Over here I have birdseed, which is a classic when it comes to Brazilian folk magic. It can be used for prosperity workings and also for baneful workings. Then I have some sulfur. Don't ask me why, okay? I have some sunflower seeds, juniper, and some dirt. Don't ask me from where. I think this stick is so beautiful and mighty. Look at this stick. I found it at a little field near my house, and I think it's just so beautiful and kind of worn down by time and the natural elements, you know, like rain and wind and whatnot. I just had to pick it up. I don't do anything with it, to be honest. I thought about making a wand out of it, but I don't really use wands, so I just left it here to give me joy. I have some Palo Santo over there. Before I knew how problematic Palo Santo was, I purchased that little bag, and there were 3 sticks. So once they're done, I'm not gonna get more. I really like this. Look at this. This is a tiny pan. This is a tiny pan. Isn't it adorable? Fits in the palm of my hand. I think it is adorable. And I use it as a cauldron, as you can see. But the problem with this tiny little pan, it gets extremely hot when I put something in there to burn. So I use this is a marble piece thing. I got this for like $4 in some decoration store. And whenever I use my tiny little pan, I place it on top of this stone. because the marble can really hold the heat. It really holds up the heat very well. And you can see there's even a mark of the bottom of the pen. And these tweezers are super useful for handling burning things. At the very bottom of these shelves, there isn't much going on. At first, I tried to put my tarot cards in there, but a lot of sunlight would come from the window onto the cards, and that does damage the color. So I had to remove my decks from here. And what I have here today, like a whole stock of charcoal. Now the last part of my witchy room is my desk, because I also use this room as an office. So there are some basic things like computer, pens and scissors. That thing over there, if you have seen my money bowl video, you maybe know what this is. This over here is something very useful that I believe that every practitioner should try to have, because this thing holds your books open. So like, for example, let's say there's something in this book that I want to consult, but I need the book to stay open. If I just open the book and let go of it, it's gonna close. So I want to keep it open. And the stand holds the book open. No, it does not damage the book. I totally recommend it. On my desk, there aren't that many interesting things. Now there's one last thing that I want to show to you. I made this case by myself, okay? I'm always super proud and excited about the little handmade things that I make. But what I want to show you is my Kobo touch. On the Kobo, as you can see, I am currently reading Talking to Spirits by Sterling Moon. Very interesting, by the way. This little gadget takes up so much less space and it's so light. One book alone has much more volume and it's much heavier. Considering that my life is not completely set on stone as it is, I could just move from here. I don't want to have to carry like 300 books or something. I decided that I want to keep my library digital as much as possible, for now at least, and when I settle down for real, I can think about purchasing more physical books. Like, for example, I read this and I really like it and I want to really study the text, then it is better to have a physical copy rather than an ebook. But for now, I will try to keep my library as minimal as possible, and an e-reader does make it possible. This is the Kobo Clara 2E. I have been a Kobo girl since like 2013. I can't bring myself to enjoying the Kindle experience. What is the takeaway of this video? Do I really feel that I need all these things in here? No, not really. Another thing that I would like to mention is that whenever I cast spells, I simply sit on the floor, over there. You can see there is a cabinet here. On this cabinet, there's nothing like magical or interesting. It's just like bed sheets and coats and toilet paper. The magical and the mundane, never forget. When I cast spells, I do it right over here. You see, on the ground here, on the floor. I sit there and I do my thing over there on the ground. And that's also the place where I sit to meditate. I have tried meditating on the armchair right here. It is too comfortable and I fall asleep. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It is better to sit on the ground right there. And then I'm able to do it without falling asleep. As my chocolate is ending, so does this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time and some inspiration, some food for thought. And remember, practice. Not buying a shitload of stuff. Practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Bye.